Hello students, welcome back to Enamel Heroes. I hope you all are doing great, right? So today we are here with another topic, that is impression materials. And about its classification I have already discussed in a separate video. So I'll be just linking that video for you here. Okay. So basically in this video I'll be discussing about the elastic impression material, that is about hydrochlorides. So let's get to the topic. Impression materials. As I have mentioned, I have already discussed about its classification. So you can just see from there. Okay. So about the elastic impression materials. What are the elastic impression materials? It includes hydrocolloids. In hydrocolloids, it is of two types, reversible and irreversible. In reversible, it comes agar, and in irreversible, it is alginate. Agar. Its introduction, uses and supplied as. Students, just focus here. It is very important to know the headings. What are the certain headings and under which you are going to form your answer. So when you are writing impression materials about agar or alginate or whatever it is, see, agar and alginate are very important. They are very frequently asked in exams in long note. Okay, so these are the headings under which you are supposed to form your answer. So let's start with introduction. It is an organic hydrophilic colloid, polysaccharide, extracted from certain types of seaweeds. I hope this line is clear. It is a hydrophilic colloid and it is extracted from a seaweed. It is a sulfuric ester of linear polymer of galactose. Now comes to uses. It helps in cast duplication for full mouth impressions without deep undercuts, and it is also used as a tissue conditioner. Now students, how these agar is supplied? It is supplied in the form of gel in collapsible tubes for impression, a number of cylinders in a glass jar in a syringe material. Means it is supplied in the form of tubes as well as in the form of syringe material and in bulk containers for duplication. Now composition, what is the composition of agar? It is very important. So let's see the ingredients. It includes agar, that is 13 to 17%, borates 0.2 to 0.5%, potassium sulfate 1 to 2%, wax 0.5 to 1%, thixotrophic material, it includes 0.3 to 0.5%, alkyl benzoates 0.1%, coloring and flavoring agent in traces, and water balance around 84%. So what is the working time and setting time of the agar? The working time is 7 to 15 minutes and the setting time is 5 minutes. Students, very frequently the external examiner, they ask what is the working time or the setting time of the agar. So you should know, it is important. The working time is 7 to 15 minutes and setting time is 5 minutes. Manipulation is very important. It can come separately as a short note in the form of, like, write the manipulation of agar or alginate or whatever it is. So it is very important for you to know manipulation thoroughly. So let's get to it. Agar hydrocolloids require special equipments. As you can see, these two are the special equipments. The one is which is white in color, box like, and second is the pink in color. So the first equipment is called hydrocolloid conditioner and the second is water cooled rimlock trays. Okay. Now the hydrocolloid container consists of, here I'll be explaining you about the different sections of the hydrocolloid container. The first section, as you have seen in the picture, let's get to the picture. See the black area, the first section is a boiling section or the liquefaction section. Then second is a storage section. Then third is the tempering section. So let's see what is there in the boiling section. 10 minutes in boiling water at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, so agar will remain in the boiling water for 10 minutes at 100 degrees Celsius. Salt should be homogeneous and free of lumps. Every time the material is reliquefied, 3 minutes should be added. What does this line basically means? It means that the salt it remains in the process, so that additional 3 minutes should be added. Why it is done? This is because it is more difficult to break down the agar brush heap structure after a previous use. So that is why it remains in that container for extra 3 minutes, so that there should be ease in the breaking down. Okay. Now the third chamber is the storage section. 65 to 68 degrees temperature is ideal. This is ideal temperature for this section. It can be stored in the sole condition till it needed. Now the third section is a tempering section. 46 degrees for about 2 minutes with the material loaded in the tray. This is done to reduce the temperature so that it can be tolerated by the sensitive oral tissues. It also makes the material viscous. I hope these lines are clear. Now, what are the advantages of the agar? Accurate dyes can be prepared if the material is properly handled. It has a good elastic properties and reproduces most undercut areas correctly. It has good recovery from distortion. As it is not hydrophobic, so it gives good model surface. It is palatable and well tolerated by the patient. It is cheap as compared to the synthetic elastic materials. It can be used when used as a duplicating. It can be reused when used as a duplicating material. Reuse is not recommended when used as an impression material. So these are the advantages of agar. Okay. Now let's see what are the disadvantages. Does not flow well when compared to newly available materials. And what are the newly available materials? Like alginate. So we will be discussing that later on in the same video. It cannot be electroplated. During insertion or gelation, it may be painful to the patient. Tears relatively easily. So the agar impression material, when you make an impression, it has a tendency to get tear very easily. Okay. Greater gingival retraction is required for providing adequate thickness of the material. Only one model can be poured. Extensive and expensive equipment is required. A soft surface of the gypsum cast results unless a plaster hardener is used. Although it can be reused, it is impossible to sterilize this material. Also, with repeated use, there may be contamination of the materials and a deterioration in its properties. So these are the advantages as well as the disadvantages of the agar. So when the question comes of agar in your exam, like in a theory form, you are supposed to write your answer exactly like this under certain headings. Like first of all, just write the content. It includes whatever you are going to write in your answer. Suppose let's start from introduction, then write uses, how the material is supplied, what are the forms in which the material is supplied, and then write about the manipulation, write about the working time, setting time, and write about the manipulation, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages. So this is how you're going to form your answer. Okay. So let's see what is alginate. Alginate is also an impression material. It is an elastic impression material. Introduction. Alginate comes from algin, which is a peculiar mucus extract yielded by certain brown seaweeds like algae. Okay. Types. It is of two types. Type 1 fast setting, type 2 normal setting. Supplied as a powder that is packed in bulk containers in pre-weighted packets for single-use impression. Applications. So let's see what are the applications of alginate. It is basically used for impression making when there are undercuts, in mouth with excessive flow of saliva, for partial dentures with clasp. Okay. And the second application is for making the preliminary impression for complete dentures, for impressions to make study models and working cast, and for duplicating models. What is the composition? Let's see the ingredients and its function. Sodium or potassium triethanolamine alginate. It dissolves in water and reacts with calcium ions. It is of 15% by weight. Second ingredient is calcium sulfate. It reacts with potassium alginate and form insoluble calcium alginate. Then zinc oxide. It acts as a filler. Then potassium titanium fluoride. It is a gypsum hardener. Diatomaceous earth. 60% it acts as a filler. Sodium phosphate. It is a retarder. Coloring and flavoring agent. They are present in traces. like wintergreen, peppermint, orange, anise, etc. Now setting reaction. Setting reaction is very important when you are writing answer on alginate. It is important for you to write the setting reactions. Okay. So let's see. When alginate powder is mixed with water, a sol is formed, which later sets to a gel by a chemical reaction. And here are the two main reactions that occur during setting. Let's see. Sodium phosphate reacts with calcium sulfate and forms calcium biphosphate and sodium sulfate. So in this process, the entire sodium phosphate get used, but some amount of calcium sulfate remains. So now the calcium sulfate, as you can see in the next reaction, now the calcium sulfate react with sodium alginate and water to give calcium alginate and sodium sulfate. Okay. Now let's see the manipulation. As I have told you, manipulation is very important. Fluff or aerate the powder by inverting the cane several times to ensure the uniform mixing. So basically you are supposed to just aerate the powder by just inverting the can several times so that there should be a proper mixing. For mixing we need a clean flexible plastic bowl and a clean wide bladed reasonable stiff metal spatula. The proper water powder ratio as specified by the manufacturer should be used. The measured quantity of the powder is sprinkled in the measured amount of the water in the rubber mixing bowl, and the lid of the metal can be replaced immediately. The mixing is started with a stirring motion. Once the powder has been moistened, rapid spatulation by sweeping or the stropping against the sides of the bowl is done. Means you are supposed to mix against the walls of the bowl, and a vigorous figure in a motion, 8 motion figure you are supposed to mix. Okay. Now let's see the advantages. What are the advantages of the alginate? Alginate is a popular material because it is easy to mix and manipulate. Minimum requirement of equipment, flexibility of the set impression, accuracy if properly handled, low cost, comfortable to the patient. It is hygienic as a fresh material must be used for each impression. It gives a good surface detail even in the presence of saliva. Disadvantages: it cannot be electroplated, so metal dyes are not possible. It cannot be corrected. Distortion may occur without it being obvious if the material is not held steady while it is setting. Poor dimensional stability, it cannot be stored for a longer time. Poor tear strength.